TIFU by admitting to my wife that I looked at porn while out of town. Throwaway account. Yeah, so some context is needed here. My 30M wife, 31F, has had some serious relationship issues with her late husband. Apparently he was a big adulterer. Like potentially sleeping with my wife's sister. Not sure how credible that is, but I'd like to believe my wife. Just the other day, my wife told me about a dream where she was mad at me for doing something half playful, half sort of serious, but whatever. She has those, I'm guessing, from the previous relationship. At some point it came up that husbands, fathers occasionally look at porn. And I said that's pretty normal. She looked at me funny and I casually said, well yeah. I did the other night at the hotel. Since this admission she has told me her self-confidence is shattered and she feels really bad. This morning she wanted to rehash it and she told me she basically can't trust me anymore. Keep in mind, my wife is gorgeous and is an amazing mother to my 2 daughters and an incredible wife. I just don't know how to fix this and am hoping someone can offer some advice. Thank you. TL. Dear, I looked at porn at a hotel out of town and admitted this to my wife. And said her self-confidence is shattered. Edit. Definitely not looking at porn anymore. I want my wife to know that I care about her feelings and I think that's the root of the issue as opposed to masturbation. I will be looking into therapy. I think that would be good for her. Neither of us have a ton of friends. So having that third-party entity might be really helpful. Update. A lot of good advice on here and I appreciate all of the responses. Truly. Wife and I are continuing to communicate and she seems open to therapy, which I'd be happy to reciprocate, so we'll see where it goes. I love my wife dearly. And don't want to continue to do something that causes her pain, however accepted by society it is. And I think there is validity in that. So this is a tricky one. I think it's often mixed in with how people feel about masturbation when in relationships. So I guess the solution to this depends on what the actual issue is. Does she only have an issue with porn? Or the fact that you masturbate? Also, what her problem is with any of these situations is important too. There is a lot to unpack here, but it is unfair of her to bring baggage into this marriage from a previous relationship. Of course our experiences shape us, but her late husband cheating on her doesn't give her the right to freak out on you for doing something pretty normal. Your wife would benefit from a really good therapist. This is real for her. Even though it isn't entirely rational. She may genuinely not be able to handle the idea that you have any desire to look at anyone but her. I know women who have this issue. Sometimes they can cope with, don't ask, don't tell. But generally they are in need of therapy, not just counseling. It's a trauma response and learning to cope with it and manage it can be rough. Others have already said everything that I would tell you. I've been there before. It got so bad that going out in public resulted in me having to look at the ground directly in front of me because if I was even looking in the general direction of another woman, she'd get upset about it. The whole waking up from a dream where I cheated on her, which is just her insecurities surfacing in her dreams. Started out playfully joking about it at first, it eventually turned into her getting seriously upset with me about it. Our sex life became virtually non-existent. This was all back in the mid-90s. So it wasn't even brought on by me looking at porn. This really is an issue that she should have resolved before she ever got into another relationship. I wish you the best of luck. And hopefully, things work out better for you than they did for me. She eventually cheated on me with a married coworker, who eventually divorced his wife, married her, and then proceeded to cheat on her throughout their marriage. Ask for sexy pictures of your wife for personal use when out of town. Urges are completely natural. And if you need a visual aid, that could help in making her more comfortable. This definitely needs some talking. I can relate to your wife. Though, during the first year of mine and my husband's, then BF, relationship, we had a lot of chemistry and intimacy. After we moved in together, it slowed down. And I learned he didn't really have a strong sex drive. I, on the other hand, do. So, when he'd look at porn and masturbate, I'd get really upset. Not that he was looking at porn, but because him looking resulted in masturbating, and then not being interested in sex later. However, after a lot of talking, I realized that, for me, sex equals intimacy, love. So, I felt unloved. All that to say, keep talking to your wife. Reassure her that she's the only woman that matters. And, if talking doesn't help, get to the root of the problem so that you can come to a solution together. I'd suggest marriage counseling. If she's that insecure, A, you need to fully understand that insecurity and her triggers. And B, she needs to work on it. At the end of the day, neither of you are at any sort of fault. You just need to communicate and support each other. Your wife needs therapy. Legal porn usage is common and normal. And I don't mean legal like you aren't paying for it when you should be. There was a reason moms used to keep Sears catalogs away from their boys. Dads their Playboys up and hidden. And it's why you used to be able to walk into any gas station, most bookstores, and buy dirty magazines. Consensual sex is normal. Finding naked bodies exciting is normal. And I hate the word normal, just can't figure out a better one. Sorry. Watching people, with their knowledge, have sex as normal. It's the extremes that aren't. Her ex-husband was an extreme. You aren't. You shouldn't have to pay for his mistakes. As long as you keep your dick in your pants. In regards to other partners, you aren't doing anything wrong. Are you watching porn while ignoring all other responsibilities? If the answer is no, then you don't have a porn problem. She has a self-confidence and trust issue that is not of your making and that you can't fix for her. Literally all that is changed in your relationship is that she now knows you occasionally watch porn when she isn't there, and that is causing an issue. None of your behavior leading up to this point caused her concern. She needs therapy. In my opinion, your honest admission of doing it and not feeling guilty about doing it shows how much you love and respect your wife. Of course, she has bad feelings about it. Those are all within herself. But hopefully she recognizes your honesty to her about it. Ask for pics of the wife. That's the best porn. Get her a psychologist. Therapy is the best answer. This is when y'all will build a private self-filmed porn stash of yourselves for when you're not available to each other. It's definitely better than actual porn. Just don't let your kids accidentally come across it playing on your phone or something. My husband and I are both military, so travel a lot away from each other at times. I, too, have a big problem with him looking at porn. Instead, we send each other prawn of ourselves so we each have a spank bank of the other. Lol. Fills the need without crossing a boundary I am not comfortable with. My husband loves it. I have the same situation in my marriage. I gave up porn for my wife and went to therapy, and I learned that a lot of the reasons I was watching porn was about control and fear of intimacy, etc. It was really good for me. So the reason for giving it up ended up being for me. Here's the problem. She still has her issues and she will not go to therapy. That's a real drag on our relationship and a daily struggle for me. I would definitely suggest that you think about your reasons for watching it, and if they are negative, then move away from it for your mental health, but also maybe engage with your wife and encourage her go to therapy also, because this can signal some serious issues around her putting all her self-worth in how she looks, for example, which is very unhealthy and can hugely affect her mental health as she grows older. Ask if she'd rather you look at porn of her. I'm going to for sure get downvoted on this, but it should be said. It's okay to not be alright with your partner watching porn. Someone isn't nuts for not wanting their partner to look at others having sex naked. It's a boundary that is okay to have, as long as it's communicated before a relationship begins. You wouldn't force someone to watch porn, so don't force someone to not watch it. It obviously wasn't something discussed up front, so you both need to work out something you're both happy with. You assumed it was fine based off the normalization of it, and that's okay. You openly admitted it to her and didn't try to hide it. Therapy is a great start. There's a lot there to talk about, especially for your wife. I get it, as I've been where she is before. You're doing good op. Have you tried watching porn with your wife? My wife and I do that sometimes. It doesn't mean that you have eyes for other women or her for other men. It's something that you're doing together, and more often than not, leads to the two of you having fun together. Not everyone is into it, but try suggesting it and see where it leads. So your wife didn't heal from her past relationships and is reflecting it on you to make you feel bad? Wild. Masturbation is so natural, and if she thinks you'll only have eyes for her, which you never will, she's delusional. Therapy for you? For doing something 90% of the population does? Woman here. This is something most girls have to address when transitions into womanhood. Up until I was in my late 20s, I had the same problem with porn. It made me feel very insecure, judged, like I had to compete with them. It made me jealous as hell. I'm so over it. It took several years. Constant reassurance from my husband. At first I felt with it by ignoring and pretending it doesn't exist. But now I'm just very comfortable with reality. Sadly, some women seem to never reach that point. I hope the best for you and your wife. Every guy watches porn. I watch porn with my wife sometimes. Your wife seemingly had deep scars from previous husband. Best of luck. I think the real issue here is your wife holding you accountable for her previous lover's mishaps. It sounds like she wasn't actually ready to be in another relationship when you two found each other and is still getting over being cheated on. She needs to fix that as soon as possible, or you two will never be happy. Also, whether it's socially acceptable or not, even doctors agree that you should be having frequent orgasms to stave off testicular cancer. If she isn't there to do that for you, then you should be allowed to take care of business. With or without porn. It's perfectly fine to watch porn, as fantasy and reality are two very different things. For example, many straight men will sometimes watch gay porn, yet aren't gay. Watching porn can help you both have a healthy sexual relationship, which is important.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Aircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.